Welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I'll be your guide. And joining us on this adventure is our rising Survivor fan with 12 seasons under her belt, and
Hello.
And of course, we also have our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan who just finished his 4th season of the show. Welcome back, Survivor F.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Good to be back.
Yes, it has been very lonely in your absence. And we've been watching some madness transpire on this season. Just craziness.
Yeah, as I've heard, and having a chance to go through some of the recaps with you guys, it seems like I missed the start of a pretty good season, but back into the mix now. Looking forward to having some nice conversations, seeing how this season wraps up, and this really looks to be a good one. I know I've been mentioning that this is one of those ones where having watched those first few episodes would have definitely gotten me hooked. So really looking forward to seeing how this one ends.
Well, let's spend a little bit of time going through the beginning of the game then. So you've watched enough that I'm comfortable you're familiar with the beginning of the season. So what is your reaction to Jeff and the show revealing, oh, by the way, crazy thing, 4 tribes, which is already a toddler's first for you, but also we're splitting them by race.
Very, very controversial. My first thought would have been like, what would have been the immediate reactions for people actually watching this live back in the day? Because TV has changed a lot over the years, as we all know. So this was one of those things where I would just love to get people's genuine reactions if there was a way to convey that, and just see like what people were thinking. Because honestly, that's kind of crazy. Like just splitting people by races. I'm sure some of the contestants would have been pretty uncomfortable with that. We did get to see some people mention that, so very odd choice. But I guess they were just trying to hook people and find something interesting to change things up, and, and they decided, hey, let's just split everyone up by race.
And really it's, we'll see once you watch so these were the uh last episodes before the finale. So once you watch the finale, you can give an ultimate opinion, but as crazy of an idea as it is definitely top tier, most diverse season of any season, particularly through the first 40 seasons before I think that they really made an effort to have different people on the show. So, and this is back in like 2006, 2007. So there's a chance that that aspect of it like really makes it good and gives all these great characters. But just what a weird storyline it has created throughout the whole season.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, no kidding, honestly, like, if we were to parallel it with something, I know you're a wrestling fan, right? Like, remember back in the day, there used to be, like, the Attitude Era, which, if I'm not mistaken, was, like, the most popular era in wrestling, and, like, now you look at wrestling now, and it's, like, a lot more PG, a lot more tame. This is one of those things where, like, if we were watching Survivor today, any modern season, like, that would not fly. Like, that would be met with a lot of controversy. The producers might strike those ideas down. They could have some interesting workarounds with how they try to incorporate that, where, like, they could be trying to do the same thing, divvy things up by race without just clearly saying that, right? Like, make it so that, oh, coincidentally, like, these people in these different groups are split up in this way. But again, yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, very odd choice in terms of how to split groups up, but, you just, you see what it turns the season into. If it ends up being a good season, then I'm sure people will go back and say, "Oh, okay, well, it wasn't too bad that they started it off like that," and who knows, some people might even consider Jeff to have been a genius if that ends up being considered one of the best seasons.
Yeah, it's definitely a toss-up. I feel like the biggest thing is also the people in it. because if the contestants are kind of don't care and rough and kinda low key could be racist, I think it could have gone really bad. But I think the contestants don't put it as heavy of an emphasis about it, it's better. And also they split them off really fast. Like this happened this whole theme kind of occurred for 2 episodes and it stopped faster than like, it just over by the time you, like, completely digest it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It didn't overstay its welcome, right? Like, that's how they started it, but it wasn't like, that's how it's gonna be for the rest of the season. So I think, as Will mentioned, very diverse, so love to see that. Love to see people from all walks of life be able to come in and compete. And, there's some really interesting people that have even popped up in this season. So, I took a quick liking to Cowboy and, me watching, like, the recaps and kind of catching up and trying to keep on pace with you guys. It took me a while to realize that his name was quite literally Cowboy. Like, I took it to mean that that was a nickname at first, and I was mistaken about that.
What did you like about Cowboy F? I'm curious.
He just, I mean, he had this, like, chill vibe. Like, I have a very, like, rushed view of him, so I could be completely wrong here, and getting your own thoughts would be quite the contrast. So, I thought he was a pretty chill survivor. He had a lot of experience, so, like, he would be someone who could probably be understanding in a lot of different situations, willing to work with people, but then also at the same time try to exploit others because he knows how the game is played. That's the vibe he gave me, someone who actually knows how to play the game, form relationships, and, like, I thought that, like, he's the type of person I've not seen compete before, so, him and having a laid back, approach to things and being that older guy who I guess you could say in a way was being a leader for his tribe. um, like, he reminded me of certain things about Joe in, like, the, season 48, but, like, he has a completely different, like, laid back vibe to him, which I liked.
Did you like how he was healing his members from the headaches?
But yeah, they were showing that, like, that traditional, like, Chinese, like, medicine approach or something like that.
I've never seen it, but it was incredible.
Yeah, he's like one of those people who you're around and it's like, you just know there's never gonna be a dull moment. He's, like, climbing up trees. Like, I remember the sequence he had where, he dropped that one egg and it hatched a newborn, and he genuinely was, like, sorry about that, and it was just, like, one of those things where it's like, it humanizes him and you get to see that, yeah, they're trying to survive, but, like, he's still appreciative of wildlife, what it provides, and things like that. So, to me, he was a pretty feel-good character that, I would root for.
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought he was interesting. However, in the beginning, as for those listeners that heard the earlier episodes, I did mention that there were times where he was a little cringe. His main thing was like, we gotta, he's making fun of himself. As like he wants to joke around and make these stereotypes, which makes his other members kind of uncomfortable, and it was kind of like awkward. So that's, like, my only thing about Cowboy. Like, I get his perspective, but I'm also like, "No, we don't, like, don't make stereotypes and stuff like that because I don't think it helps. It only kind of solidifies it even more."
So I'm not speaking to exactly what sort of jokes that you're talking about, but when you say, like, he's cringe, he has awkward humor, personally, I love that kind of humor, so I would like that. I'm not saying that you should be stereotyping and making those sorts of jokes, but if it's a sort of cringe humor, which is, like, outside of that, then, all the better for me. I like that sort of humor.
Well, let's not
Yeah,
forget,
the ones that
he
I
did
remember. Oh, you go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, he well, and that is ultimately what did him in because he just was unable to build strong alliances or just allies because of his just the comments he would make. However, he did come up with the legendary plan Voodoo, which in present day is simply the split vote, which was his idea to eliminate someone who has an idol. That is normal now, but he actually had the plan, but unfortunately, the person he told about it is the person who had the idol in Yule, who then promptly voted him out. And so now there's no one left to use it against him.
Oh,
So
would you look at
so
that?
Yeah.
you mentioned Cowboy, was you liked him at first. So let's get to some winner pick housekeeping. So what we've done here is that we've tracked the picks that F would have had, and when the dust settled, it seems like uh by the time he was in episode 12, he was gravitating toward Ozzy. So Ange and F did a negotiation, and now Ozzy is F's only winner pick, and Yule is Ange's only winner pick.
I
I
like
I
it.
did wanna
Nice doing business with you.
Yeah, yeah, good deal. I would take that all day, but, I do wanna point out that, had I joined at the start of this season and watched along with you guys, I probably wouldn't have chosen Ozzy. I would have chosen Cowboy, potentially. And I like to be diverse with my picks, like, if we're choosing multiple, so I like to choose a guy and a girl, so it's funny that one of the other picks that I had almost immediately got eliminated afterwards, which is, following in theme of the previous season we were watching.
Yeah, we're just, building a trend here, but that's okay. That may just maybe you just have to go against your instincts from now on. Just wherever you first think of, like, no, resist, go with somebody else.
So
The instincts is so good, you have to go the opposite way.
let me bounce a question to you guys, just because, I've been missing for a while, been surviving out in the wilderness all on my own. That story will come out someday. Um, what what were your thoughts at the start of the season, right? Like, was there anything that you felt immediately came off different, came off unique about this season outside of, just like the clan splits? Like, were there any things that really hooked you to the season at the very beginning?
I honestly thought the beginning hook was crazy. Like, I felt like usually I'm so used to being like, "Welcome, Survivor. This is how we're gonna split. Like, this is what's going on." Instead, like second one, everyone's grabbing things, fighting for their lives, just jumping off the boat. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what's happening?" Like Jeff is talking to the camera while everyone in the background is scrambling like a crazy supermarket like shop big blowout going on, and I'm like, "Oh, Will, what's going on right now?" I'm like, "Why is everyone what happened to this season Survivor? We're splitting you guys off. We're like, look around, or like, what do you think? What do you? I don't know. Sometimes it's like, do you think
You
you're
there in the blue
Goliath? Yeah,
shirt.
yes, yes, right there. What makes you a survivor? And but instead, it's like, off you go, guys, fight for your life. So that
Oh,
Yeah, we
just
had
getting
that
a
right
grabbed
into it.
me.
it was a
Yes.
cold open.
It was like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening? Did I skip like 10 like, if I was on TV watching TV right now, I would think I missed like 10 minutes of the show. Like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, already? It started?" But that hooked me on, and then a bit more of a funny way, Billy got me hooked, okay?
Ah, yes, good
Billy
old Billy.
and his love, him falling in love from Ca of for Candace, from Raro, I could never I don't think I would always think about this. I feel like Billy I don't know if Billy thinks about it, but I probably think about it every night for the rest of my life.
I'm glad you mentioned Billy because, I would have forgotten about saying this point, but, for me, I started off with a recap episode, and, like, I think quite literally 10 seconds into the episode, we got the line about Billy saying, "I'm not here for the money, I'm here to find my true love, and I found my true love." He said something like that, I'm paraphrasing, and it was like, "This is all I need, this is gonna be a great season, especially if someone like this is gonna be in the game." He's gonna be one of those guys who we're talking about cringe humor. I just know he's gonna have so many moments, or he's gonna be the cause of so much drama the longer he's in the game, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I wish
What's
he was there
crazy is he did
longer.
yeah, it's but he did not start the season saying that. He was kind of a normal survivor. He was struggling at like camp life in terms of like the physical aspect of camp life. And then suddenly, unprompted, not included at all, he just professes his love for Candace, but not to her. Well, yes to her, but she didn't understand. And then there's a tribal. That's why Jeff is like, Candace? Herrero? So it was so crazy because it was so unexpected. It was amazing.
I mean, you're telling me, like, I just heard him say that to her, like, during that, like, one challenge that they had, and that was, like, the only form of communication they had with each other, so, like, you're
And
talking
that is
about, like,
accurate
love
to
at
what happened.
first glance, so yeah. What about you, Will? What have your thoughts been about the start of the season?
The smallest tribes that we've watched together so far is what stood out because then on each of the four tribes, every storyline in theory you would think is either there's one person on the outs, that's four against one, or there's a three versus two group happening, and like just keeping an eye out. Like it's very. I noticed that that's very simple because it's going to be one of those two things. Um, and I think that that is a risk of having such small tribes is then like there's only a couple different storylines you can have, which I think hurts. Um, so I think that can teach us a lesson. Even in present day Survivor, the tribes are six people strong, but with six people now you can have five against one, four against two, or three versus three. So that adds that extra person makes a lot of difference. So I think this is a good example to highlight that. So that's what as a repeat viewer, that's the type of stuff that I was um interested in. But I think we should zoom to the two episodes we're talking about today.
Let's
Uh
do it.
Now that F is caught up to us, we start with episode 12, 13, 13. So this was called Arranging a Hit.
Oh,
And that is referencing to Parvati and to Adam's plea to Yul to target Jonathan, which we'll get to. But it actually starts out in the beginning where we see Parvati just chopping coconuts and then nearly chops her finger off. And medical has to come and they decide they're just going to show us every detail of this.
I was so shocked on how detailed it was. Like, I'm not squeamish or anything. This was fine, but I'm shocked the fact that they showed it on TV. Like, people blur for anything now. So the fact that they showed it, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it wasn't even a quick glance. Like it gave you like a full thumb shot for legit like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
See, I do wonder if like at what level would she been forced to leave the game? Like she could have quit at that point if she wanted to. Like that's feels like a serious injury. But she stayed through it, so credit to Parvati. But at some point, like it would have been beyond like she would have been forced to leave.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even provided her sutures. Like, I'm so curious because we haven't gotten there or it's never happened. But I remember Sandra's leg just looked very like she's got a lot of abrasions on there. I'm like, there's a risk that it could be infected, you know?
Infection.
So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, would they be able to provide antibiotics, or they is that to the point where no, you're not survivor, you're not surviving. It doesn't seem like because in a way, like, is Parvati surviving if without the stitches? No. So shouldn't she be I'm not saying she should, but I'm just saying, like, in the relative like, in that aspect, if they're like, "If we're gonna provide you
Yeah.
care like that, beyond the fluids and the medic being like, 'Should you go or not?' Then are you gonna still stay? Like, should you still stay in terms of a game?" So, I don't know, but it's crazy to see that she had stitchers and everything, and she had, like, a little mini thumb cast going on, and then was like, "Oh, I can't have it wet," and then immediately we go into only water challenge going on.
Yeah, like salt water in that. Oof.
Well, yeah,
Really bad.
Blindfolded?
they go to the reward challenge, which is called Pass the Bucket. And before that, you're right, Jeff knows what's going on, but for the show and for us, the audience, he's like, "Oh, Parvati, what happened?" And then she explains. He's like, can you compete?" And she's like, "Well, I can't get it. I tried not to get it wet." Just like, "Well, you're definitely gonna get wet in this one." And yeah, this is Jeff's like, "Yeah, well, you just get
I
good,
was like,
figure it out."
anyways.
But this is our loved one's visit. So they reveal everyone's loved one, and it's actually going to be a team challenge where the actual castaway will be blindfolded. They'll run a little bit to the water, fill the bucket, and then attempt to pass the water, throw it in the air from their bucket, and then the loved one who's not blindfolded catches it in their bucket, pour into a barrel, and then eventually the flag will raise and they win. And shockingly, it is Parvati and her dad that get the
That's
job done.
crazy.
The
It's
person you least
amazing.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that, again, I'm pretty, quickly, um, watching all these scenes and trying to catch up with you guys, but, the quick theme that I notice is as soon as there's a handicap, it does not seem to be working against the person in a way that you would be expecting. And the other thing that I was paying attention to, or trying to see if there was a comment about it, was, she immediately gets to see her dad right after we have the sequence of, oh, she practically sliced part of her thumb off almost. Her dad did not mention anything about the thumb, at least in what we, the viewers, got to see. So I thought that was interesting. I know if it was like my mom or my dad, they would be getting upset at me that I'm still in the game, with any sort of minor injury.
That's true, because it's not shown in the canon of the TV show specifically. He just doesn't care. He's oblivious. In reality, I'm sure he must have. Either was told about it
Yeah.
before or asked about it then. But in the TV show, yeah, he's just like, well, whatever. Uh,
Yeah,
not
I'm not
acknowledged.
here
But
calling out
this
her
is
dad for being a bad parent, or am I?
Oh, TF, let's effing
uh,
go. No.
but I mean, but it is, yeah. But you do have an injury, but $1 million at stake, so
That's true.
it could be
I
worth.
also think it's kinda awkward if you told if your dad or your significant or who your loved one be like, "Don't continue, you gotta go." Because it's it puts you in a tough spot because you're already kinda questioning it, but you're but you wanna stay strong for this $1 million. You're like, "A couple days more, that's all I got." And by saying that, are you, kind of, putting them down in a way, They're their fight
Yeah.
is gone. So I think maybe he did that on purpose to be like, if she wanted to go, she would. And she isn't. She's okay. But you're right though. He didn't really ask what happened to your finger? What's going
He
on with that?
Yeah, he might have probably mentioned it and we just didn't get to see it. I think that does make sense. It would just imagine this, while they're doing the challenge, he notices it during the challenge, and he's like, "Oh my god, what why are we doing this? Look after yourself," and starts, sabotaging her.
I do have a criticism of Papa Parvati here, and
Tell me more.
that is that Jeff reveals the twist. So what we're used to is you win a reward challenge, particularly the loved ones reward challenge, and now you get to bring other people who get to spend time with their loved ones. It's kind of why in past seasons we've said, don't win this challenge, you're gonna make people mad. But the twist is that the loved one chooses who joins you on this. And I think when we were watching and you were like, "Oh, Parvati should bring Yule and someone else she wants to sway to her side."
Yes, because
Uh,
she's in the low right now. That's what you would do.
and unfortunately, her dad has absolutely nothing to go off of. So he ends up choosing Sandra and Adam. Uh, and if Parvati got to pick, she may not have made those choices.
Yeah, I think it's better that way in terms of she couldn't decide, so she's not the one that caused anything. Nobody's angry at her because your dad chose and it was not strategic in any way. So no one can be angry at it. So it worked out
That
for
is
Parvati for
that's a
that
fair
way.
point.
Yeah,
But because it's not strategic, she was unable to execute a strategy.
that's true. That's true. Because in the end, who did they pick? They picked Sandra and Adam.
Adam,
I
Yes.
think
yes.
Adam makes sense here because he's with her, but, they're trying to, establish something bigger. They're trying to become part of, the majority. So, just to make sure that, if you're split up, that, the person that you're leaving behind who you're supposed to be in a team with, you wanna make sure they're not trying to stab you in the back or, throw you to the wolves. So I think at least Adam, I personally, if I was in her position, would have chosen Adam with just one other person. So I think at least part of that does make sense to me.
But I guess they're in such a bad position. Think about it. They are on paper, it's
No doubt.
5 against 2.
Yeah.
So I think I'd have to just look, if my ally is gonna betray me, I'm screwed regardless. So I'm just gonna hope that they're not gonna betray me, leave them with the rest of the people, and then bring 2 people I want to sway. Yule seems to be calling the shots, so it depends on your perspective. Do you want the ringleader to be the one you persuade, or do you want to persuade other people to go against the ringleader? So I guess it depends on your perspective there.
I would have
But
done, Yul and Adam.
so go for the ringleader. Like try to get the ringleader on your side.
Yeah.
Oh, 1,000%. Like, if Parvati had to choose, I think it would be silly to not pick Yule, to bring Yule in and be, like, trying to, get him on board and kinda, like, sneak in some talks and stuff depending on where Yule's at, you know?
Yeah, because they do a little bit. They're able to talk to Sandra, and Sandra thinks about it. But what we'll see is that Sandra does not seem to be a decision maker in her group of 4, so it may be difficult to actually. And remember, you need if you're Parvati and Adam, you need to get 2 people to join you. So you talk to Sandra, sure, but you need another person, and even then, you need those people to be comfortable betraying the rest. So it is tricky. Um, but they do enjoy. They spend some time on the beach first, so it's like all the castaways except Jonathan, who gets sent to Exile Island. So
Oh,
poor
right,
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
So this is what happens when you end up being hated. You are an easy target. It was Candace before being targeted for Exile Island, and now it's Jonathan being targeted for Exile Island. But yeah, they're all on the beach, and as are the loved ones. You're just Parvati, Adam, and Sandra's loved ones. And that I don't know if they did anything wrong, but the end result is that the others who don't have their loved ones get quite annoyed and bitter about it. So bitter that after they leave and it's Yule, Ozzy, and Becky by themselves, they decide, you know what? They're going off to have a great dinner and everything. We're gonna not give them any food by hiding all the coconuts and other things around here. Let them starve.
That was wild. But it's, like, crazy because it's so unlike Yule's personality for that, but they got so salty. I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Desperate times.
That's true, and the biggest
Well,
thing is
and they
that
try
not
to
it's like
explain it.
yes, they do. That's what I was gonna go at, yeah. In terms of, like, the feeding them, getting them winning immunity
Exactly. Yeah.
challenges doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I get what they're saying. And it's also like, it's how many days are left, you know? So it's like, I get it.
7. There are 7 days left.
Yeah, so if they
This is
don't eat
day
for a bit, it's,
32.
like, not terrible. They've been being fed for 32 days by them, and so I get what they mean in terms of strategically it's smart, but it also sounds very terrible. Um But they did it. They threw the coconuts in, like, the back.
Yeah. And then hilariously, they Adam Parvati and Sandra come back. They're like, "Oh, how it is," and the very first thing they do is like, "So we had a good time, but here's some food." It turns out they brought back food for them. They brought for all of
Yeah.
them.
That was a really wholesome moment, and they all look so bad. They all feel so bad. They're like, "Oh, man, I feel really bad." They're looking at one another, and it's like, "Just abort mission. No, not this.
Perfect
We're not doing this." Yeah, we're like, "Stop it, stop it. Bring back the coconuts right now." But it was such a sweet moment because they don't do that anymore, or you said that they can't do that anymore, but, because there's just
Yeah,
always so much food, like, they eat till they're dying, so it's like, why not bring it to your mates? But it's because they can't. But I think they should allow that choice, so then you see if your mates are sharing with you or bringing food back. I think that is a add-on, it's part of a gameplay because then bringing up back food is a way of making amends and making, like, relationships, and I think Jeff should let people bring food back.
I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
Jeff
I
wants
agree.
relationships to get mended.
Or it could be not mended because let's say F and you went on a thing together and you come home and like, "Oh, I was so full, there was so much food. We couldn't even finish any, and you didn't bring anything for me." Oh, that's telling. That's very telling. Don't mess with my food. I'll get hangry. I'll bite you.
No, I definitely agree. I think there's a strategic aspect to it, so, the fact that it's no longer allowed is it's a little puzzling, but, I mean, I'm sure Jeff has his reasons, whatever they are.
Well, I imagine like most things, it just becomes a solved game. Like after 25 years, or just like obviously you bring back food, so like you would stop getting. I guess what you need to have it like sometimes it's allowed and sometimes not. But I guess that's also like hard to. That'd be weird for the audience to know when it's allowed, when it's not. I guess you know what they have sometimes. Sometimes they have a challenge for like, let's say it's 2 people out of a 8-person tribe, and the 2 people have to go on a journey or some other thing, and it's like, well, you can either bring back this big bag of food for the whole tribe, or the 2 of you could get an advantage and then bring a smaller bag to the tribe. So that's happened before. So that's kind of a version of what you're talking about. And
I
what
think
usually
whatever
happens is oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think whatever can put you in the good graces of tribe members, this is a perfect scenario where, like, if you're in a position where you're heavily outnumbered, what is a good kind gesture you can show? Like, your goal is, like, "How do I come across as genuine, that I'm not gonna backstab these guys? How can I quickly build trust?" Food is the way to a lot of people's hearts, and especially if they're really hungry, if they're surviving. I think strategically it does make a lot of sense. And like, look at it this way. Like, what if someone wins a challenge and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna be such a good Samaritan that I'm not even gonna touch the food. I'm just gonna go there, talk to the people I bring with me, not touch the food, come back with a lot of food that everyone can collectively eat together. I want to make it a party for everyone. Who's gonna hate that guy?
Okay, but what if, like, do you have a refrigerator? Like, how long are you keeping this food?
You Well, you would assess based on the food you have, of course, right? If it's food that does need to
Imagine,
be
like
refrigerated.
it'd be funny if it's like you could've it did not need to be refrigerated, but you just lied, like, "Oh,
But if
sorry,
it's
I
like
would've brought back, but
if it's like
it
whole
would've gone bad,
pizzas,
sorry."
then heck yeah, I'm bringing that back. Cold pizza, hot pizza, both good.
Uh, so everybody joins back together for the Amiri challenge, uh, which was called Floatsam and Jetsam, and this was another water challenge. There's a lot of water challenges this season. I think more than any even the pirate season, there's more because in Pearl Islands, there was a lot of, like, very unique challenges, but they happened on the beach, like when they were shooting muskets at targets, or there was like an obstacle course on a pirate ship, but that pirate ship was on land. This season, there's so much water. Uh, this specific one was it's like it is kind of like an obstacle course, but you need to like swim to the obstacle course, and then you're like jumping on barrels to get across and other like balance beams, and eventually you get to the buoy, untie your bundle of sticks, go back on the course, and get all of those until you can build. Um, or no, you need to build like a pole from these sticks and rope, and then grab a key and then put it on, or grab a ring, and that's would mean you win. And it is Ozzy that absolutely dominates and
Surprise,
wins
surprise.
individual immunity. Yes,
Is
and
is this like
actually, it would make a
actually
big difference, I think.
I was gonna ask, is this actually a surprise? Because like, is
No,
Ozzy
not
had a tendency for winning challenges?
he's so good at it. His name is, like, Poseidon. He's a dolphin. He's so good. So
Oh, that's
anything
pretty
like
sick.
Oh,
water
yeah,
challenge, he's just been really good.
yeah, and it really hasn't been a storyline for whatever reason for most of the season. Like, it's come up,
Thank
but it
thank
hasn't
God.
been, "Let's let's target him for that reason," and even in this episode, Jonathan again gets a lot of attention, and what it becomes is that we have that Aitu 4 group of Yule, Becky, Sundra, and Ozzy on one side, and then it's those 4 plus Jonathan, who voted with them last time, and Parvati and Adam across from them. So they're choosing, do we target Parvati or do we target Adam? So that's one conversation. And then separately, Adam and Parvati are trying anything they could think of to try to put the target on someone other than them, and the easiest person to target is Jonathan, who's just been getting on every single person's nerve at this point. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything different Jonathan could have been done at this other than win immunity. And one interesting thing is part of Parvati and Adam's pitch is well, if you allow Jonathan to keep going, I think the jury will probably blame you, Yul, for allowing an undeserving player to continue. So it may be best if you get him out now. Just saying.
I
And
feel like
that's
that's
like
sorry, I didn't realize you weren't done.
they've tried this twice now. Like that they kind of talked about it last time and talked about it again this time. And I think what helps is that like with 4 people, they feel like even if they get rid of Jonathan, they're still 4 against 2. So that helps. They genuinely don't like him. Like they comment that while he's off at exile, he uh it's like just calmer at camp and everything. And yes, and in the end, that momentum leads to Jonathan getting all the votes, a unanimous vote out against him. Um,
I forget, was he
Jo-
called a rat again in this tribal?
uh, I believe he was, among other things.
He's always called that.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a quick glimpse of the guy, and yes, I could tell he's getting on a lot of people's nerves, but I also started kind of feeling bad for him. I do think that there is a strategy in play kind of opposite to what, Adam and, Parvati were trying to do, where just because he's such an unlikable person, you just know that if you take him to the end, no one's gonna vote for him, right? Like, is there a risk with that? Yes, there's an inherent risk with that. But I think he in essence even he doesn't even have to be a finalist. He could just be a shield for anyone because he's the easy out. No one likes him. He's also likely not gonna be winning a lot of challenges. You're not worried about him winning those, so I thought he was just one of those people that you could consider just delaying his vote for that reason.
Yeah, it is odd. Like I know Parvati and Adam, like they specifically hate Jonathan. But imagine if, like in current day, it's a 3-person finale. So final tribal. So imagine it was Adam, Parvati, and Jonathan at the end. Like surely one of them 2 would get more votes than Jonathan if Jonathan is hated by everybody.
That's true. That's true because in the beginning, I feel like it makes more sense to take out the people you hate low key because they're gonna always betray you. But at this time, maybe it's better to keep him. But it's like, but if it's you or me, then definitely it's you, you know. But if it's like me and potentially you, I'd rather have someone that's not liked with me, so I have more votes, you know. I wouldn't
And
want someone.
unfortunately, because, they're not in a position of power, they're a group of 2 people, this would really be Aitu's decision to make, and that's the perspective that I'm speaking from, where rather than maybe getting Jonathan out, I would look towards getting someone else out. Obviously, I wouldn't try to get out someone who's part of the tribe that I'm in, but my focus just would not immediately be Jonathan for that reason. If I can delay that vote, if it ends up being, okay, this is the most sensible vote for the week, or I guess the day for them, then, yeah, go ahead and do it. But I think they had other options there. They didn't necessarily need to get rid of Jonathan. And it would have been funny watching another tribal where someone else also calls him a rat.
I can't believe they call him that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty rude.
And with that, we are left with 6 people as we start episode 14. which was called "I Have the Advantage." Dot dot dot. For once. Um, and this episode kind of continues a storyline that you thought should have been happening all along, which is, oh my goodness, Ozzy's good at challenges. But for some reason, it just hasn't come up until now. We actually see that conversation come up a few times, uh, particularly by Becky, but eventually Yul expresses that opinion, and Sundra a little bit. And then Ozzy, he doesn't feel it by himself, but he begins to worry that people think that about him too. So suddenly, pressure's on for even though in theory they could always just vote for Adam or Parvati. That's what you would think they'd do, but Ozzy is concerned.
Mhm. Makes sense. I would be too. I mean, the in the current, seasons, they would take Ozzy out so fast. It would have been like, "Oh, the moment he loses, we're taking him out." Or like
Yeah. Uh, so the first challenge was the reward challenge, and this was called Mud Run. This is when they had to run and just dive into this mud pit, get as much mud as possible on themselves, and then walk to a bucket and like shake and scrape that mud off of themselves. And after 10 minutes, whoever has the heaviest bucket of mud would be the winner.
that was such an interesting challenge.
Yeah,
It feels
I
like
remember
Survivor or Jeff just loves mud.
I remember saying while we were watching that this has gotta be Jeff's, like, secret fetish challenge. Like, the angles that where they're showing everyone, we're talking about, like, washboard abs and, like, how everyone's, like, using, like, their own body as a strategy to, "Okay, I'm using my hair. Okay, I'm using, like, the back of my neck or something or my back." Like, it was interesting, but it was like, "Man, this is what Jeff gets off to."
Yes. Jeff loves the mud.
Yes. And so some interesting things happen here. So Ozzy dominates again. He has like twice as much mud in his bucket as anybody else. Uh, but often we just talked about the risk of winning a reward challenge. You got to pick people to go with you. Once again, this is not a case where you pick, actually. This was whoever has the second most goes and whoever has the third most goes, which would end up being Parvati and Yule. Parvati, like, has a several good challenge performances now under her belt, including some wins. So credit to Parvati. And the the important part here is that even though Exile Island has not been very interesting because there's no idol on Exile Island anymore, um, the strategy here is that Parvati and Adam predict that if they don't go on this reward, then Adam will be sent to exile, which will weaken him, and then it'll be less likely for him to win immunity, and they want one of them to win immunity. That's kind of and that comes true because they do send Adam to Exile Island, and then Ozzy, Parvy, and Yule go to the spa. Uh, and they go there. They travel. Dude, they travel completely, still covered in mud. By the way,
Yeah, no kidding, like, on the
That
plane, still covered in mud,
yes. In
entering the
the
spa
yeah.
building, still in mud.
Taking off their muddy shoes. It's not just their shoes, it's everything. Even after they shower, the floor is still muddied. I died in the inside.
Yeah, I remember Ozzy also mentioning that was, like, the best shower he's ever had, and this looked like one of those wins that was just so worth it. Like, just imagine, like, you're so exhausted, you've spent, like, what, like, roughly 30 days on an island. Your body needs some sort of, like, relief. Like, what's better than getting a massage, a hot shower? They had, like, what, even, like, dancers, songs. The only thing that I guess I don't know if it ruined it, that it kind of probably added to the ambiance is they had, electricity issues, so they actually ran out of power at the spa that they were staying in because of weather conditions, but, I think that actually added to the ambiance. So all in all, that was probably one of the best, like, prize wins that I've seen. Like, that would be one experience that I would love to have, like, if I was a survivor.
And under
Yeah, for
under other
sure.
circumstances, it's probably, like, the best type of experience to try to build new relationships or at least increase your standing with them, which is relevant for Parvati mostly in this case. Uh, she does her best to
Yeah.
attempt to add Ozzy and Yul into her web,
Web.
so to speak. Which again, I mean, it's all there's very few things to be done in this situation for her and Adam. So this is probably as good a strategy as any. Um, However, although we don't quite get enough confessionals from Ozzy to say whether he like Harvey has gone up in standing with them after this. Because by the way, they do essentially go skinny dipping in the hot tub together, all of
They
them.
do. With
Uh,
Yule too.
but that's right, all together. But Yule's confessionals are he is now more suspicious of both Ozzy and Parvati. And the thing that probably hurts Parvati with that is that means that she is now a bigger threat than Adam. So if their plans fail, she would be the first target. It's kind of like the domino effect of all of this.
Yeah, he
Weirdly
sees right
enough,
through
that
it.
went yeah, Yule is too good on that.
But it could have worked. Like
Uh,
imagine like she got like if it had been the other way around where like Ozzy is not affected but Yule is, well then suddenly you have like the person who's making decisions who doesn't want to vote for you. That would have been great.
I don't know how, like, affected Ozzy was just because, like, yeah, they didn't really go much into his confessional, but it kinda seemed like he was just kinda playing it up rather than, like, he's
I don't
just
think it was
kind of,
affected at
like,
all.
falling into her web. It's one of those things where he understands, like, what she's trying to do, and he's in more of a position of power, so he's just kinda playing along. He doesn't really necessarily have to he doesn't have to be confrontational or, like, too worried about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What Yule takes away from this is Parvati is dangerous for this reason. Like she's actually using strategy, and by the way, has been successful in challenges, like I said. So now Yule wants Parvati out more than he wants Adam out. So that backfired for Parvati. And then side effect, Yule now has more of a reason to be weary of Ozzy too. So that would potentially be bad for Ozzy if Ozzy doesn't win immunity.
True.
However, we go to immunity challenge, and this one was the called the Cannonball Run. Uh, this is you're carrying all your puzzle pieces across balance beam, and if you can succeed at that, you put together all those pieces to make a table maze, and then you have to kind of like get the cannonball along that maze. A lot of struggles on the balance beam here. Poor Adam gets completely flummoxed by this balance beam, possibly because of Exile and Exile Island and him being weakened. And clutch again is Ozzy, who pulls out another win. Excellent performance by Ozzy. It potentially saved him. There's a timeline where in it, like we have Becky worried that he's winning challenges, and Yule worried that he might side with Parvati, and then they end up voting for Ozzy. That could have happened.
It could've, but, I don't know, that would be pretty risky at this point just because it's a 4-2 split right now, so you're getting close to tying it up yourself if you're eliminating one of your own, regardless of how big of a threat you see him as.
It is true. Now, uh, it is of note that before Mutiny, Ozzy was not part of it. Ozzy was on the outs of Aitu. It actually was Sundra, Yule, Becky, Candace, and Jonathan, and with Ozzy on the outside before Mutiny. But then, of course, after Mutiny, everything changes.
Yeah,
But
Mutiny
that
really
was,
changed
his risk.
everything for this season. Like, honestly, you would think we make jokes about Mutiny being like, "So what the heck is crazy?" But it kinda was a big game changer. The fact that Candace and Jonathan left, it changed everything.
And changed it for, I mean, like, for the well, I
For the
I think
better
that's
for the 4, worse for the other guys.
yeah, well, it's interesting, like, worse for the other tribe who had nothing to do with this. I mean, they're not the ones that mutinied, and then worse for you could argue worse for Candace or Jonathan, but it depends if you thought they were already in danger on their own tribe, so that's kinda debatable. I think for Jonathan, who was already mistrusted, his mutiny just closed all his other doors he could have potentially done and, like,
Mhm.
took away all his options. For Candace, I think it had a better chance of working. Like, if the mutiny happens and Raro actually wins at least a challenge, then they would go into the merge with they would have a bigger advantage, and then in that group, like, the Parvati, Candace, and Adam group, I think, would be strong, and Candace probably finds herself in a pretty good position. But because they just lost every single challenge, it just all fell apart.
Yeah, we'll need to have, like, a broader discussion on the effects of the mutiny, like, once the season wraps up, just because like, I think at a high level, like, it's like, I just didn't like it. I think there it could be a strategic way that it could be done. I would have to think about it some more, but, like, when I saw it in play, I just immediately did not like it. I just thought it causes balance issues and, like, it puts a target on the person's back who's deciding to mutiny regardless of they're going to a new tribe. So, like, I don't really see what the actual benefit of doing that is. And it can screw over, like, the other tribe members regardless of, okay, if they're winning or not, like, generally, you would think. So, I'd love to see how the rest of
Yeah,
the season
well,
plays out before fully
absolutely. Yeah,
having an opinion on it.
that'll definitely be a topic in our finale episode. I remember what during that episode when we talked about it, is at least my opinion, it seems like a useless game mechanic because no one would ever mutiny. But the bizarre thing is that they did, so it's like Jeff Probst's proven right against me. And the reason I thought no one would do it is because it feels like it and it's really, really likely to hurt you. And I feel like it has hurt Candace and it has hurt Jonathan. But we'll go into it before. Uh the storyline for this vote ends up so once again, Parvati and Adam are trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat and try to get something out of the I24 to change. But this time they do not have an easy uh scapegoat to give them like Jonathan. So they gotta come up with something else. And that something else is essentially maybe they've gotten to Ozzy. They do together talk to Ozzy and they kinda ask him, would you be willing to vote against any of your group?" But he doesn't really answer either way specifically. And even if he had been willing to, well, then it would be 3 versus 3, so they would then have to either accept there being a tie or get another person. If you remember, there was a weird scene that you would is not something you would think would happen, but the rest of the I24 can see this happening, and then Yule goes up to them and is like, "Hey, don't try to, like, persuade Ozzy to do anything, like, don't be like that." That was a bizarre interaction, I
Yeah,
thought.
Oh, right, that was kinda weird.
Uh,
could have done
because
it
that's
without.
"Don't you guys don't play the game," is essentially what he's saying. Just give up, don't try anything."
Yeah, I don't know why they needed to add that scene. I don't think it really added anything, and, like, if that's strategically what they think is best for them, even if he's doing it, like, I'm not sure what, like, airing that is supposed to tell the viewer. Like, at this point, you're like, "Okay, whatever the lines are," and it's like, if it's something that makes Ozzy think twice, then we're about to go into a vote. We'll see it.
Well, I just thought it was just it's such a bold thing for Yule to do, right? Right? Or to like, that interaction is hey, don't try to save yourselves. Just let yourself get voted out. I mean, that's basically what
Yeah.
he's telling both of them.
He's pretty
And
much saying he runs the shots for, like, whatever's happening.
yeah, that is a very mafia boss thing to do. That's a villain thing to do, so to speak. Uh, and which is one of the first times. I mean, we had being gung ho about hiding the food, and now we had this thing from Yule. So is Yule like turning to the dark side? Like, what's going on?
He may have always been on the dark
I
side
don't
and just been fooling us.
No,
I mean,
you know what's funny is
maybe.
like a lot of times they call him out a lot. Like I don't know, maybe I'm blacking out other seasons, but like this season they call him out a lot, being like when he grabbed the hat for Jonathan, if it seems like he's trying to get the juries to like him, and or like you're doing this or you're like that, you're just the ringleader and you're the guy. And I feel like Yule's just always like, perplexed on why, and also being, like, sometimes being a little frustrated on, like, "Why does this always come up on me?" Does it seem like that to you? Like, I'm just like, he's just so, like he's so calm about it, though, he's never, like, upset. He's just so
Yeah.
perplexed on why. Why me, guys?
I think it's just it might not just be him, and it's like it's just the cameras just showing us that it's him, but it's like I think that's just part of the game. Like, if you're in a game where you have to think about eliminating other people you've never met and then have to learn about them, you're gonna be nitpicking things about them that'll justify to you, "Okay, we need to eliminate this person." If we're eliminating someone just for the sake of saying something we don't like, even though internally they might not be thinking that, or there might be strategy in play, they're just trying to nitpick to just see what they can get out for him, or what they can get him out for. Like, if he's someone who's playing a good game, he's probably not giving them a lot, so what they're doing is they're trying to nitpick whatever they have.
The only uh, the sometimes the what can be frustrating is when stuff like this is happening at tribal council, because now the jury is hearing it and you can't control how they interpret it, and they can't ask follow-up questions right now. So if you're Yule or anybody, you might get extra worried at tribal because you don't want to come off as the wrong way to the jury because you want to win. So that I think that contributes to Yule's reaction to tribal council, at least, where he's trying to do some damage control, panicking a little bit. Um, so that's probably what happens. And by the way, uh, even if you think it was a villain move, move works because without any further attempts to sway Ozzy, the I-24 votes together again, and they choose to target Parvati. And so it was a 4-2 vote, 4 votes for Parvati, 2 votes for Sundra, and it is Parvati joining the jury. So we lost Jonathan and we lost Parvati these episodes. Do either of you want to see these players again?
My answer is no.
Nar. Nar.
What
What if it
what a
was like
what an impressive sweep so far we've had from the Aitu tribe.
Right?
Like,
Incredible.
as soon as they've lost 2 members, it's like those members were just dead weight, and they've just done nothing but win ever since.
Yeah, yeah. It feels good, like when the underdogs are actually like getting it and you're like, "Yes."
does this sway you at all that going into the finale now in this final 5, it is now Adam who is the ultimate underdog, who's gonna try to survive against 4 other people.
No.
Oh, no.
Actually, no. I'm not impressed with Adam at all. All he did was sit there and had his 2 girls, and I don't care for him. That's
Yeah,
my thing.
we're all about equality here. What Adam should have done is after Jonathan got eliminated, kissed him too, like, just
Yes.
anyone. From that point
Yes.
onward, after Candace, just kiss everyone who's leaving.
You can't
Like
stop
Lily.
there. Kiss Jeff too. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
why
if
did you
if he gets
stop?
eliminated, just kiss Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. It was just I can't get it.
Um, so are both of you comfortable standing by your winner picks as we go to the finale?
Oh, 1,000%, my guy. Yes. My man Yul.
I this is an
Oh.
interesting one for me because like, I I originally would not have chosen
Ah.
Ozzy,
Oh,
but,
okay.
like, I like to stay with my picks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just don't know who I
Okay.
would have originally gone with if we just did this the traditional way, but I agree with Ange here, I gotta stay with my picks.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta stay loyal.
Ride or die.
Yes, yes.
We talked a
Watch,
little bit
one of us
last
leave next.
well, yeah, so, like, Jeff hasn't explained it yet, but usually in this era of Survivor, it's a final 2, so unless something changes in this season, 3 of these people get voted out, and I mean specifically voted out, not, fire making out, and then that would leave 2 people at Final Tribal. Um, it does seem like a tough sell for Becky or Sandra right now. I mean,
Yeah.
they potentially have, if it follows the trend of seasons 1 through 12, they do have 3 votes, 3 tribal councils to do something, which could change everything and suddenly make them a contender. But as it stands now, like, their accomplishments of being part of the I-24 are the same accomplishments as the other I-24. But I guess how
Yeah, I
about this?
agree.
Like what if like pick Becky? Like if Becky can sit at the end against Adam, now even though her accomplishments are the same as the other I-24, none of those 4 are against her. So at that point, like you're fine.
Yeah, this is where honestly I could even see a path for the underdog Adam, because this could be the point where I2 starts eating each other, and because of what you just described, right? Like they might see each other as a bigger threat. Ozzy, to be quite honest, is not in a good position. I would love to see him win it. He's a little bit of a high risk, high reward pick here, just because we already see that there's pressure on him, but that doesn't mean he can't win. Um, Adam would be a very interesting winner here if that happens.
The interesting thing with Adam is I think he's been a very disappointing Survivor player if you just think about it's it does not seem like he participated in really any strategies, even at the end when he, Candace, and Parvati are in grave danger. Even then, it didn't seem like much was done. They made one plea to Yule, which may have contributed in getting Jonathan out. Of course, Yule might have anyway gone after Jonathan. Part of that is he's been sent to exile several times, so he's just not around. But that's a strategy game that seems to be lacking, and despite him looking physically fit, I think he's only won 1 of the challenges so far. So he has not come across as a physical threat. Whenever Yule talks about physical threats, he brings up Parvati more than he brings up Adam.
That's
I think
true.
Jeff actually called him out on that too.
Yeah, so that's tough, but on the other hand, the good thing about being the last person on, in this case, the other alliance, is that everyone else that was on his alliance is now on the jury. So the question is, would that be enough to get him votes potentially?
That is true. That is an aspect I didn't
Oh,
consider, but like I said,
yeah.
this could be the point where they start eating each other alive, the other I2 tribe, and there's still, a game to be played here. The game's not over for him, so he still has opportunities to show himself, make his case. It's not over until it's over.
Yeah, so I still think it's curious in the end. It's like if it's gonna be a bloodbath between the I-24, who comes out on top in that? And then at the end, is it gonna be like I2 versus I2, or is it gonna be one of them against Adam? Is Adam the first target, or do they go after each other first? Are there disagreements in priorities, or will the 4 of them be aligned in whatever they do, or the 3 of them if they're going after one of their own? I think there are a lot of ways this finale can go. Um, but as it stands right now,
Yeah,
I think
looking
it is
forward to
fair
it.
to say, yeah, I think it's fair to say the attention is on Ozzy and Yule for better or for worse right now. But there is still at least 2 and and usually 3 more tribals for the others to make their presence known. So we shall see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I hope my man Yul win. But if Ozzy wins, honestly, I wouldn't be mad about it, because he is a great player. Like he's good in terms. I feel like they both have different. Yul has like I feel is more rounded than Ozzy, but Ozzy is very strong in terms of he is winning challenges upon challenges. But just because you win challenges, don't mean you win Survivor. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
and
good
remember,
point.
this is the 2000s jury mindset. When we
That's
watch
true.
seasons when we watch season 7, it turned out what they prioritized was owning what they think your game was or your personality. So what crushed Lillian is she was not willing to stand by her Boy Scout that persona, even though like it was a little unfair to her, but she was wearing like that was a weird situation. But that seemed to be more than anything else what made the difference. So we'll see what affects this final tribal more than anything else. Um, we don't know. It could be anything. That's I love going back in because I feel like in present day Survivor, we think we know how the jury thinks. And so if we get surprised, it's a surprise, but we don't like we're going and expecting to know the outcome. Whereas here, I mean, who knows what the common thought process was back then? So
Yeah, and
could be
I
anything.
for me, like, I'm not paying attention to any, like, trends, like, I come in with a fresh mindset, even with the jury that, like, regardless of what era of Survivor we're watching, I would like to think that the Lillian example, that could be an outlier. We have a brand new batch of juries here, um, and they just could be assessing something differently. They could be bringing something in that they might catch during the final 2 vote, and they whatever their priorities are, like, whatever they assess people to be, they have their own different experiences compared to other contestants in the past. So I come in with a fresh mindset of, they'll assess it, and each different jury member is going to take a unique approach to it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, all right. One more episode to go. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Island Life. And next time we talk about Cook Islands, we are breaking down the finale. But until
Yeah,
then,
Ooh.
and until oh, you have one more
I
thing?
was just going to say we were going to let the Cook Islands cook.
I love it.
Let them cook.
Let him cook.
Until then, folks. Ciao.